This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and colder, it can really take a toll on how we feel. Maybe that means calling your grandma, writing a letter to your friend, finally grabbing lunch with someone you haven't seen in a while. And just like reaching out to a friend, starting therapy can take a bit of courage. BetterHelp makes it easy to start therapy. You'll be matched with a licensed therapist based on your needs and preferences so you can focus on your growth and goals. Not happy with your match? You can switch therapists anytime with no hassle. This month, don't wait to reach out, whether that's checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself. BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PFF. That's betterhelp.com/PFF. Was Louisville, number 15 Louisville, losing to California 29-26 in overtime. Let's go over the highest graded player, starting off with the Golden Bears. Highest graded player was, of course, Jacob DeJesus, their wide receiver, who was unreal in this one. Dalton talked about him later on in the show. 79.8 grade for him. Brent Austin, the corner, 78.7. Luke Farrelly, the linebacker, 76.1. Kendrick Raphael, the running back, 73.5. Hezekiah Masses, 72.7. And Jaron Keave Sangapalotele with a 64 grade in the win for Cal. Let's go over to Louisville with their highest grade players in the loss. Rasheed Miller, the offensive tackle, with an elite 90.7 grade for him. Kewan Brown, the running back, 83.4. Clev Lubin, the edge rusher, 79.7. Renee Conga, the D tackle, 76.6. The other offensive tackle here, and Trevante Sylvester, 73.4. Miller Moss with only a 46.5 grade in the loss. Dalton, what told the story in this game?
So I think for me, I'm going to start with Cal's defense. And Justin Wilcox has really done a nice job over the last couple of years of building this defense from the back end up, Max. So you look at where Cal is at. If you look at the rankings for coverage grades, all right, Cal is tied for 5th in the country in coverage grade now for the season. The 5 teams involved, okay, in that top 5 also, Texas Tech, Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. Wow. 5 playoff teams and then Cal. I mean, you just look at the job that they did in this game. And look, Miller Moss did struggle, but it's a really good secondary you're throwing into, especially in the second half for me. I think they really clamped it down. Louisville in the fourth quarter and overtime only scoring 3 points, and that's really because you're obligated basically to give up a field goal in overtime. 76.1 coverage grade in the second half for Cal. Only 1 explosive pass allowed in the second half that accounted for 37 of 79 passing yards for Miller Moss. 2 first downs allowed through the air in the second half of this game, 2 forced incompletions, and again, like I mentioned, 6th in the nation in coverage grade. You know, and last year, this started last year, really. Remember Noel Williams and Craig Woodson? You got NFL guys back there forcing turnovers, doing all that. But Brent Austin, Massis, and this Cal secondary was just outstanding, especially when it mattered most. As the game went on, they got even better, and this is not an easy team to cover, right? You've got Chris Bell, you've got Colin Lacey. Miller Moss, generally, when he's clean, is accurate. Louisville ran the ball well, even without Isaac Brown. Kewan Brown was really good on the ground. Duke Watson getting involved also, but at the end of the day, this Cal secondary, when they needed to be at their best, they were, and they've really done that all year.
Yeah, really, absolutely. They were 49th in coverage grade last year, and they lost some really good players in that secondary. Now they're even better this year, which is crazy for that Cal secondary. Right now, that goes into my stat is the EPA per pass difference in this one was massive. One quarterback struggled with another one played pretty well. In this one overall, Cal, .223 EPA per pass, 350 yards through the air, 7.1 yards per pass. JKS had a 65.4 passing grade with 3 big-time throws and no turnover-worthy plays. Louisville, meanwhile, negative .313 EPA per pass with only 203 yards through the air, only 5.2 yards per attempt, and Miller Moss with about a 45 passing grade with 1 big-time throw and 2 turnover-worthy plays. So, you know, Jaron Keave Sangapalotele was solid overall in the win for Cal. The really difference was, though, Miller Moss just was really, really struggling against that Cal secondary.
And the problem is with Moss, and he's a good player, he's a smart player, he knows what he's doing out there, but the limitations, right, because he doesn't play out of structure really at all, and the limitation even on his arm strength. He was 3 for 14 on 10-plus yard throws. That's really the issue, and we've talked about those vertical throws being the difference for Sangapolatelli. You look at him in this game, he was 7 for 18. So, I mean, that's solid. It's not the greatest thing you've ever seen, but he's going to let it rip, and he at least has the ability to make those throws at any time, 3 big-time throws in this game. I think that's the real problem right now with this Louisville offense is everything around Miller Moss has to be perfect, right? The pass protection, the run game. Think about, he didn't play in this game, but think about how Isaac Brown played against Miami a couple weeks ago. Think about how Chris Bell played in that game. Colin Lacey, we've seen have big games this year. Everything around Miller Moss has to be perfect, and if it isn't, then you talk about, okay, we think in general that Louisville's a better team than Cal, yes, but when your quarterback has these types of limitations and the vertical passing game is just not there and it's not a threat when you need it to be, Cal was not afraid to get up in the secondary and jam these receivers and 2 really good receivers on the outside. Why? Because Miller Moss really struggles to throw it vertically and into those tight windows.
Who do you want to shut out here in this one?
I think to me, look, you know how it is. We have 5-6 games going on the TVs. We got the quad box going and all of it every single time. I looked at the Cal game, this Cal-Louisville game, and Jacob DeJesus was just making another catch. The UNLV transfer working out of the slot. Just ridiculous. On top of the fact that he started the game, first play of the game was a trick play to him where he hit a 27-yard pass down the field, really setting a tone that, hey, DeJesus is going to be the guy today, and Louisville never got the memo. 22 targets. Is he Jamar Chase? What is going on here? I mean, isn't that what Chase had last week in their loss to not the Jets, the Bears?
Yeah.
I mean, 22 targets, 15 catches, 155 yards, all of those career highs, 83.1 receiving grade, a season high, 7 first downs, 4 explosive plays. It was just, and it was so fitting that the game started and ended with DeJesus, the one-on-one whip route that he wins with in overtime. He's just a really good route runner and a heady football player in the slot. Undersized, one of those classic slot receivers where you just go, he's crafty and shifty and he's going to find his way open, but Louisville had no answer for him. Every single time Sangapolatelli needed a big play, it was Jacob DeJesus making it. 22 targets and 15 catches. Just ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, I want to shout out the Cal secondary even more, the corners especially in this one. Brent Austin and Hezekiah Masses were awesome in this one. Brent Austin, 78.7 PFF grade, 2 catches allowed on 6 targets with 3 forced incompletions, 1 coverage stop, and a 45.8 passer rating allowed. Masses, 3 catches allowed on 6 targets with an interception and a forced incompletion, and a 16.7 passer rating allowed. Cam Sidney and Jair Smith had 15 yards allowed combined as well. Chris Bell, who could be a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, only a 59.8 receiving grade for him and only 49 receiving yards because of how good these corners have been for Cal this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, the secondary took this game over in the second half. They took advantage of Miller Moss not having his best day in Louisville. Now they're hanging by a thread. They still have an opportunity in the ACC to compete. They've got a huge game coming against SMU. They've got a shot, but they need a lot of help in this ACC race if they're going to get in that title game with 2 losses.
Yeah, Louisville right now 4-2 in conference and 7-2 overall. So yeah, Louisville needs some help right now in the ACC race. They got a big game against Clemson coming up this week, and then at SMU, and then close it out against Kentucky too. But yeah, Louisville, these next 2 weeks against Clemson and SMU are huge. They got to win both those games, and they need help in the ACC as well in order to get into the conference title game. But big win for Cal, who's now bowl eligible at 6-4 this year. So big shout out to the Golden Bears for a huge win over a top 15 team in Louisville.